pleasure to welcome you all to this very special occasion. It's a particular privilege to meet here in this august and ancient establishment that we've been shown around. It really is. The more one stays here, the more one realises what a privilege it is to be here. A special welcome to our ladies. A special welcome to Angus Agar, who is the rector of the parish of North Lambeth, through whose good offices this event has been enabled to take place. A welcome to the Reverend Chris Evans, wherever he is. There he is. I'm glad he arrived at the last minute because he assisted me in the evening prayer. So welcome. And Gert Christian, I've got to get his name right, Cordelison. Gert? Well, oh, there's Gert at the back. Good. So welcome to Gert, who happens to be school chaplain and head of religious studies. So special welcome to him. And to various other clergy who I came across as I passed my way through. Well, at the risk of reiterating to you things you've already heard, I think it's worth saying that here we are at the heart of the Anglican Communion, which consists of 80 million people across the world, divided up into 38 provinces, of which the Church of England, centred on York and Canterbury, is part. And we are under the leadership, as you know, of our Archbishop, who I hasten to add is not like the Pope in Rome, because in typically British fashion, he's only primus inter pares. He has to share his authority with all the other archbishops and presidents of the other Anglican communions across the world. And so he can only advise, but with the prestige of his office, of course, he cannot, what was the word I was going to use? He cannot enforce. So that's the special thing about the Anglican Church, of which the Church of England is part. And since the Reformation, this has been the established church of our country. And since long before Reading School was founded, we have been a Christian country. And so Christian values are woven deep into our traditions and institutions, and indeed Reading School has played its part in forming these with Archbishop Laud and his tortoise, as well as other illustrious forebears. We've played our part in forming these Christian institutions. And in meeting here this evening, we're making a point in our secular age about the school's respect for its Christian heritage from down the years. So once again, welcome, and I hope this will be a fruitful session for initiating work experience and OR's inspiring future generations.
We have an array of distinguished speakers who will speak for a very brief time. Okay? Our next speaker is Claire Shandley, and Claire is chair of the Reading School Parents Association. And Claire will tell you what the Parents Association has been doing for work experience and careers.
Yes, as Michael says, I'm the chair. I've been the chair of the Reading Parents Association since October last year. What we are is probably very similar to when you were at the school. We're there to support parents, we're there to support the school and the pupils, and we're also there for fundraising. And this year we have raised in excess of 50,000. We've raised near enough £60,000 for the school, which I think is I know has been going for many years, and this year, last year, we raised £22,000 at that one event. And we've also raised money for chemistry equipment, for new goals, for a leadership room, for laptops. And this is very much what we're about. As the Parents Association, we're trying to make the school better for the boys who are there. And along with that, we're also looking at those boys' futures. We run, along with the school, the careers event once every other year. We do it in line with Kendrick. So Kendrick do it one year, we do it the next. We organise that as parents. We also try to get work experience places for the boys, so where we can help, and get the parents involved, and parents involved in the jobs that they have to come in and speak to boys about potential careers, about how they get into those careers, and also around things like the new apprenticeships that are coming on board with many of the companies and things like that. We're also trying to move the Parents Association into the 21st century. We've introduced a new GDPR, if everyone knows that, but data protection communication tool. So we've now got class lists, and we've got half the school now actually signed up to that. So, which is great. So the communication between the parents, and what we're really trying to do is support those parents to support the boys. We very much look at three pillars: well-being of the boys, academic excellence, and environment. So that's, as a parents' organisation, we are trying to provide items, provide support to the school around all three of those areas. If anyone is available next week, on the 12th of May, we have the Spring Fair. You are all welcome to come along and support us. We have an online auction that I know Michael has actually also sent round to the LinkedIn. We have a raffle, and we have the day of the fair itself, and we are hoping to raise in excess of £20,000 from those three events to actually put a covered area outside the library, so the boys have somewhere to go at their lunch breaks. Thank you.
Next, and again, these are all brief, okay, so please stay patient. Ashley Robson, headmaster, will tell us what the school is doing.
I didn't get the memo about being brief, but I haven't got notes, so we'll see how it goes. For those of you who haven't been to Reading School for quite a while, so say if you left in the 60s or the 70s, you might have, but if you watch the TV, you may have seen us on Endeavour Series 5, Episode 6, okay, where they came and filmed it in October half term, took over the whole school. Some of it I'm sure you could recognise. It was probably exactly the same as 1968. It was set in the late 60s. And I think so that showed you that in many ways we haven't changed. However, in other ways, I'm sure you're glad to say we have changed, and changed for the better. There are four main ways in which we try and inspire the students, the future generation, because without our staff, that's teaching staff and associate staff, and governors too, working with parents, without them wanting to inspire the next generation of students, then we're actually failing in our duty as educators. We're trying really hard to inspire the students. Firstly, by an emphasis on academic excellence. So, 33 students in January 2018 got offers to Oxford and Cambridge. Now, I can guarantee that in whatever year you were in, there weren't 33 students. Even though you might think there were 33, you can remember that there were 33, there weren't. I've checked the records. 33 is the highest number for Oxford and Cambridge. So we're doing something right. We're also judged to be the top state school in the southeast of England by the Sunday Times Parent Power League Table in November 2017. I'm a big fan of league tables if we're at the top. So we have an emphasis still, just as I'm sure they did when you were at Reading School, on academic excellence. But we broaden it out because we want boys to be excellent in a number of different areas, not just academic. So It's really tough, but somebody had to do it. I accompanied our badminton team to the World Schools Badminton Championship in Pune in India a couple of weeks ago, and we came 5th in the world at badminton. We haven't even got a badminton court. So they came back from India, they were a little bit tired. Two days later, they won the national championships. So it's very much what I want Reading School to be in everything that we do. First in the country and about 5th in the world. That's not a bad thing to aim for. But just as academic results might get you an interview, they certainly don't get you the job. What gets you the job and what really makes you a whole person is the character. And we emphasise alongside academic excellence, just as important, and actually I would believe probably more important, is that of character, the development of character of our young men. We want to build good young men, and that's really important to us. We want to be ready to inspire the next generation. We need to be an and school. It's about excellence, academic excellence, and building character, being champions of character. It's not either or, it's not one or the other. And we need to be a yes school, not a no school. We need to say, yeah, these are the opportunities, we're going to go for it. Not, oh no, it's too difficult, or we haven't done it that before. We need to sort of be moving forward in order to improve. We mustn't be complacent and say, oh, well, we were top last year, we must continue to try and improve. And that is the focus on mental health, for example, through our Champions of Character programme linked with Football Association. It's really good to emphasise to the boys that it's good to talk about their problems. For too long, young men in this country have kept quiet about their issues. And I think it's really, really important that they talk to someone, whether it's the receptionist, whether it's a teacher, whether it's another friend. It's really important. Then it moves on to the third pillar, the third way in which we inspire our students, and that's through leadership. So we have a flourish, actually. Those of you who remember your Latin, that means part of the flourish Reading against this. I'm sure you all remember that. So this is about flourishing. We think we can inspire our students, we want them to flourish, not just be an exam factory, not just to work all the time at their studies, but actually to flourish as young men. And so we have a leadership programme called Floria from years 8 to 11 to age 12 to age 16, where they have timetabled lessons to develop their skills, their character skills that then go on to the skills that you really use when you're an adult, rather than the things that perhaps you might teach in academic studies. That's really important that we have that emphasis on leadership. And it's not just about leadership being, oh, there's one person, he's the captain of the first 15 or the first 11 of football, first 11 of cricket. It's actually about the boys who are perhaps quiet leadership, sort of stepping up to the mark rather than being in the background and if they see that something's not quite right. They're not a bystander. They will stand up for something. And that's important. So developing courage in our young people is an important aspect of leadership. And it's leadership for students, yes, but it's leadership about the staff as well. Because if we're not going in the right direction, we're not going to be able to inspire young people too. So it's really important that we develop staff. And it's tremendous staff, both young staff and more mature, and we get them back. So I don't know if you remember Graham Wheeler, chemistry teacher, bit of a character. We bring him back. He's in his 70s now. He's got all that enthusiasm that you might have a 23-year-old have. It's tremendous. So for us, it's about attitude. Leadership is about attitude, not just sort of what rank you might have. And that's really important. It's leadership at all levels. And then lastly, but certainly not least, is that of community, how we inspire them. We work within the school to build a strong community. That's very important. But if you just look in all the time, that's too narrow. You're not going to be self-critical. You need to look out. You need to share things that you've learnt. And that's in a local environment through our Future Stories programme, helping disadvantaged young students to apply and help them to take the test so that they can fulfil their potential at Reading School. That's really important to us. Also, internationally, it's really important that we, in a post-Brexit world, or almost post-Brexit world, we move beyond Europe. That's why we've got links with schools in Australia and Kenya, and we're going to have a bit of a push, links with China, hopefully, in the future as well. So we've got a wide vision, but we always remember that we're part of Reading. We're at the very heart of Reading. Just those four things that emphasise the importance of inspiring young people. If I could just finish with saying, because you've got a role to play in this. Okay? You've just got a free drink and then you can go home. You do have a role to play in this because you've got experience, you've got contacts, you've got knowledge, and we want to tap into that in a positive way. We want to link with that. We want to develop relations so you can help, if possible, share your knowledge and expertise with the younger generation, because they need it. They might think that they know lots of things, but what they don't have is experience. They don't have mentors. They don't have people opening the doors for them, metaphorically, in terms of opportunities. That's where you can help. That's where you know people in certain areas of business. You might be able to offer a few days or a week to a Year 12 student for work experience, for example. Or you might not be able to help, but you might know somebody who does. And that's not wrong. That's actually saying, what can you give back to the school community that might have, whether it be 40 years, 30 years, 5 years ago, that actually helped you get on that first ladder of opportunity. Maybe gave you the opportunity. Your skills, your character got you through the door and into your career, but sometimes you just need that first step. And sometimes work experience, for example, inspires you to go on into your career. It's just sometimes just meeting someone for one day in the law or in business means that actually, or being an engineer, yes, that's what I want to do. Just as when some boys, one of the reasons we get 33 boys into Oxford and Cambridge each year is that old boys come back and give them practice interviews. And they say that's the single most important thing to prepare them for the interviews at Oxford and Cambridge. So it's really important that you share your expertise. And you never know what that one small thing might make a big difference might inspire a young person. That's what we hope as teachers and as staff at Reading School. Sometimes you speak, oh, did I really say that to you 10 years ago? And the boys remember it. And you can be part of that support for young people as well. So together, I think that we can inspire the young men of the future to be, yes, academically excellent, but yes, to build the good men and to develop them so it doesn't just stop at 18, they develop as young men and their careers in the future. Thank you very much. So, I'm the head, but this is Chris, my deputy, an old boy as well, and he does all the work for me, so he's going to say a few words now.
It's lovely to see you all, friends. I'm going to be very brief. I've had 3 marvellous conversations this evening already. I walked through the door and sat down next to Rudolph Bissaletti of the class of 1950. Rudolph's been left from Reading School for 67 years, was a West Wing boarder, and for my 10 years as a teacher at Reading School, most of the time I've been teaching in the dormitory that Rudolph used to sleep in. And it's just great to see him and to hear the one question that he was most eager to ask. What's Reading School like now? What's it like now? Was his question. And then I got to speak to Jamie, Scuffle and Mike and to have a chat with them. They left 2 years after I'd arrived. Jamie was West House captain and did an awful lot to keep things ticking along. The two of them are now engineers and doctors, and just hearing a little bit about their professional life is fascinating, absolutely delightful to hear of the things they're up to, having seen them as mischievous 17-year-olds to hear how Jamie's saving the world one patient at a time and Mike's fixing one building at a time. It's just great and really inspiring to hear what you're up to. And then I said hello to David the Marvel. Now, David, when I was 11, was West House captain. I arrived at Reading School and my first day was in room 23. David was introduced by Dick Owen, the head of West House, and I mistook David. I heard someone along some rumour, I mistook him for Zinzan Brooke. I was somehow persuaded that this was the captain of the All Blacks, who was also captain of West House. I've explained to David that I grew up without television. You can blame my parents, that I was a slightly sheltered child and very naive. But David made a huge impression on me as an 11-year-old. And here, all these years later, I am able to talk to him about what he's done since and tell him what a difference his leadership made to me as an 11-year-old. What a treat to hear that every one of these generations are asking, what's Reading School like now? And we'd encourage you to come back and find out for yourselves most genuinely. The headmaster does an incredible job at Reading School. Just last week, I was at a conference with head teachers from other academically selective schools. And they wrestle with navel-gazing myopia, looking at how to improve their grades by percentile points. With that being their purpose, they will never be as great as Reading School will be. And we're very privileged to have a headmaster who wants to keep us on the right path as a school that cares about character. What he said isn't just a headline and a tagline. Our ethos, our DNA is exactly the same as it was in your day, about challenging bright young men to be good young men, not just to be brains on legs. And so if you are happy to help or come back and visit, the two people you really need to talk to are not the headmaster or I. If you've got expertise in careers, you need to talk to Claire here, who's our independent careers advisor, who comes in every week to give boys advice. And she'd love to meet you and hear a little bit more about what you could offer. And if you're happy to talk about development and how to make the life of the school better, you need to speak to Jazz, who's our society manager. They're the two people who really help join us together. They're the cement between the bricks and the glue between the pages. And it's wonderful to see all these different generations represented here, and I hope you'll have as many fun conversations as I've already had. Thank you so much for coming.
Our next speaker is Julian Sansom, and if I've got this right, Julian was at school 82 to 89?
82 to 89.
82 to 89. Julian is a partner with PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers, and Julian and I have managed to get a few work experience opportunities together over the last little while. So Julian's going to talk from personal experience.
I'm also going to talk a little bit about how to subvert the system in large corporations to get work experience places. So before I get going, PwC, with about 20,000 people in the UK, we recruit 1,200 graduates per year and 300 or 400 school leavers. And for the last 15 years, we've been ranked #1 graduate recruiter in the UK. We clearly pick our statistics very carefully and ensure only the right people fill in those surveys. But when I was in school, I was interested in academics and rowing and things like that. Didn't really have much time for work experience. But going through university, I realised I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I made it my job to find as many work placements as I could. I couldn't decide between accountancy and the law, so I decided to go for the interesting option, go for accountancy. There's some good lawyers here. And I kind of wish I had the opportunity to have a proper organised work placement scheme. One of the areas I specialise in PwC, I lead our gig economy practice and work around flexible workforces across various organisations. And what I find is, what they also do is they find out a lot of information about how to apply for posts going forward. So I'll give you an example. One of the individuals who approached me recently, I telephone interviewed them just to make sure they're okay. Their academics are fantastic, but I telephone interviewed them just in case. And he was telling me about how he's doing this applied economics degree. He's really interested in consulting, particular areas of consulting he's interested in. I said, well, why come to us? He said, well, because you've got great practice in this area. I'm really, really interested in it. Look, you do some great things. So I said, well, all right then. What have we published recently? No idea whatsoever. And he then kind of rode back a little bit, and we asked him a few more questions. So clearly he's a bright guy, and I wasn't going to knock him off just for that. But just giving little bits of help around things like that, I'll get him in, we'll work with him over a few days, and he may choose to join us, he may choose to go somewhere else. And for us, the great benefit, whilst we want to get 1,500 people, 1,600 people in a year, it's quite difficult choosing the right people. You want to make sure when you get them, they are the right people, they really want to do the job. Reading School is great at this because we've got 1,000 people in Reading. You know, with Crossrail coming through, we've doubled the size of our practice in Reading. It's a brilliant source of people for our business. Traditionally, Reading has been staffed by people who couldn't get into London. You know, that's not a great long-term career profile for us. We're getting people from the school who come from the local area, we're going to get longevity, so it works for us as well. So I think it's a good win-win both ways around, and I'd encourage people who have influence in their organisation to try to find these subtle ways around whatever particular structures we have in place.
Excellent. Thanks very much indeed. Right, so I'm now standing on a chair. This is the important bit. What are we going to do? I have had conversations with numerous people over the 2 years that I've been president of the Old Reading Gentries Association, and there seems to be an enthusiasm to try and help the school out in these areas. So the reason for holding this event is to give it a shot, we have deliberately invited you along because most of you here have got something very specific that we want to get our hands on. As the school community. Our ambition is modest, okay, initially. I'm not trying to change the world, but I do know that for those young boys who go off to university, most of them do find some sort of work experience in their second or their third years. But there is a group who somehow or other fail to do it. They tend to approach me in dribs and drabs, and I tend to try and find something for them. And I would much prefer to have a wider range of opportunities actually on display for those people who approach me. As I said, modest ambition, maybe 30 opportunities. But if you know the quality of the students that are on offer here, you know that you can tap into one of the best schools in the country and one of the best student bodies in the country. Just think about the opportunity to recruit effectively for the long term by tapping into Reading School students. The other thing which I would like us to do is I'd like us, as the Old Reading Gentries Association and Old Reading Gentries, to provide 6 inspiring speakers each year for the school. I don't want us to suddenly take over the programme, because I know Ashley and Chris have lots of other people from outside the Reading School community who they want to invite in. But just looking at those who come along to reunions, I know that the generation that I'm a part of and the generation that followed us has achieved an amazing amount. You might think that we were all just scutty schoolboys, but we've turned into business leaders, and we have turned into opinion formers. And many of those business leaders and opinion formers have already given time and opportunity to Reading schoolboys. And just to give you one example, the Right Honourable Sir Oliver Heald, MP QC, who we used to know as Ollie. Ollie has got a young student coming along on work experience from the 6th form this year. Okay, so if Ollie can do it for a week, why can't we? Now, if we do get the 30 work experience opportunities that I'm aiming for, we have a system which we can use. We've got a free system which was given to us by Cambridge University. What an employer has to do is simply fill out a form, which is a sort of database form which says this is the experience that's available, this is the period, and what the student then does is looks at the opportunities from their end of the system and they can apply. If you are the work experience provider, you then get a list of students who are interested, and then you make your choice. You might want to take more than one, but you have a choice, okay? If we have sufficient interest, we'll get the system up and running. If after today's event only 2 or 3 people approach me with work experience opportunities, I'll do it by email. Okay, but there is a system there, and St Andrews have used it now for 4 years, and of course they're a university, but they have hundreds of opportunities from their alumni. So after this event, I'll be writing to you. You'll get one of those wonderful Eventbrite messages. And I'll give you details of the Inspire lecture series, ask you whether you want to volunteer to do an Inspire lecture. I'll ask you if you might have a work experience opportunity, just so that I've got an idea as to whether we have appropriate numbers. And the other thing that Ashley hasn't mentioned is that we've now agreed that instead of just having tea trays in big school for the dead, we are going to have photos and biographies of the living and the successful. Okay? So those old boys who become involved actively in Reading School will obviously be prime candidates for being subject of a photo biography, which will be positioned around the school to inspire the boys. You might be first. Who knows? So, just a couple of points. Ashley mentioned 33 going to Oxford, which of course is fantastic, but you must realise that it's 33, is that 160 students you've got?
No, it's based on the number of applicants. It's still by the 19th.
The year group is around about 160, and they all get through to the end of year 13 now. Okay. In our day, by the time we got to 18 years of old, out of an original 90, there might have been 60 or 65 left because of the culling process. Do you remember that? Yeah. Exactly. So we got 16 out of about 60 and 33 out of 160. Well, we can do that. But I'm not trying to score points. Of course I'm not. Another thing that you need to know is that the old Reading Gentians Association is now a registered charity. Okay? We are not anymore the Old Boys Club of Reading School. The Old Boys Club of Reading School is dead. The sports ground that the Old Boys Club used to operate from is now our sports ground, but we rent it out to the Reading Gentians ground. Okay? So we are a freeholder. We are not a sports club anymore. We are a charity, and our charitable objectives are to support the boys of Reading School in education and their sports activities. So you're not joining an old boys club anymore. You're joining a group who are aiming to support the boys of Reading School and to support the fabric of Reading School. If you don't know about it, we do have a LinkedIn page. I will send you the LinkedIn page link if you haven't already signed up, and it is one of the easy ways of keeping in contact with old Reading Gentians. But I do hope that you will be inspired by the surroundings and will be inspired by what you have heard from all of your speakers, so that you have a proper understanding of how we, the old Reading Gentians Association, as a charity, supporting the boys of Reading School, work week on week, month on month, with the school, with the Parents Association, supporting the Parents Association, and trying to make things better for the school and indeed for the town of Reading.